Hello and welcome to my technology integration project over Powtoon, and I am Juanita Martinez. So what are Powtoon and Google Classroom? That's what I ended up using for my project. Powtoon is basically a place where you can go online to create a short little video, and you can use it for a multitude of different things. Google Classroom is a place that you can go, you have using Google accounts like a Gmail. My school pays, we have that for each of our students. So I use Google Classroom to assign assignments, anything digital that I want them to do. I am able to do that through Google Classroom. So what did I use these technologies for? I ended up using I ended up using Powtoon as an introduction to a grammar concept for both Spanish 1 and Spanish 2. And I used Google Classroom and Google Apps for Education, specifically Google Forms and Google Docs, to deliver and assess their learning. So for Powtoon, I introduced their grammar concept for Spanish 1, which is a present progressive tense, and for Spanish 2, which was the imperfect progressive tense. And in Google Classroom, what I used that for was specifically giving them a place where they can go and get the link directly to the Powtoon for them to watch, as well as the Google form for them to complete or the Google Doc for them to complete. So the learning theory and design that it most correlates to what I did was Sweller's cognitive load theory. And Sweller states that the cognitive load theory is a theory that focuses the load on the working memory during instruction. Working memory is essentially how our brain takes information, processes it, and stores it into our long-term memory. Intrinsic load, extraneous load, and germane load all have a role in how information affects our students' learning. Intrinsic load is the information that our students receive. The extraneous load is the information is how they receive the information, and the germane load is related to how students process the information into their long-term memory. It is within this load that the information is combined to create schema, which greatly affect the creation of long-term memories. So my instructional objectives for Spanish 1 was that students can communicate what chores are being done right now. So this is very much in the present tense. Spanish 2, students can communicate about what was happening when their accident occurred. So again, this is focusing on the past tense, which is what the focus has been for Spanish 2. So my intended audience is Spanish 1 and 2 students that consist mostly of high school freshmen and sophomores. The length of time that I needed to present this concept was 1 period. However, I did reinforce their learning for the next 4 days. So what students did was they logged into Google Classroom. In Google Classroom, I created an assignment and linked the Powtoon video. In that assignment, I also linked their practice assignment with it. For Spanish 1, I linked a document that they could edit in Google Docs. For Spanish 2, I created a Google form, and they call it a quiz, so that it being Google form can grade it. So just a quick view of what these actually look like. So this is what my Google Classroom looks like when you first log in. You'll see that these are all classes that I'm either enrolled in or classes that I have created for my students. Here is the Powtoon that I created. This is for Spanish 1, and we'll preview just a few seconds of this. While this is loading, I can tell you that Powtoon was very easy to use. I do have the free account, so keep in mind that you will be very limited on what type of templates that you can use. So here's just a preview of Powtoon.
Hola, this is the present progressive tense by Señora Martinez. What is the present progressive tense? It's used to describe what is happening. Use estar plus the verb ending in ando, yendo, or yendo. Use the following endings as a Spanish form of ing ending verbs, which is called gerund or gerundio. Use ando or ando for AR ending verbs. Use yendo or iendo for ER and IR ending verbs. And use estar needs to be in the present form, like es.
So the nice thing about this is my Powtoon for Spanish 2, that was actually the one that I created originally. So it was very easy for me to duplicate the original video and then just change certain things that I needed so that it could fit for level 1 and level 2. In this particular case, I really only needed to change this particular slide to fit, and there was another slide that I needed to change as well, because of the prior knowledge that Spanish 2 had that's obviously Spanish 1 didn't have. And so again, their assignment was in Spanish 1. They had a Word document that I uploaded for them, and they downloaded it. And because they do have Chromebooks, they were able to create a Google Doc with that particular Word document. And so here is the Word document. Oh, no, that's not it. Sorry. This is the Word document. And so they just download it. And what's nice is it keeps it in color. So a lot of times when you print these in black and white and you hand them the actual worksheet, they lose out on that color. And sometimes for certain things that we're doing, the color really does help. So it eliminates that problem as well. For Spanish 2, I created a Google form. And this particular Google form was linked in their assignment as well. And again, you can see in the assignment here where it says present progressive practice, I uploaded it as 2 separate assignments, the imperfect progressive tense and the practice. And so here is the Google form. And then you just create the form. And I'm going to go through just so you can see a couple of examples. And so here I was able to give them the directions. One thing that I can say is if you give them a place for them to do a short answer, it will not assign points until you, the teacher, physically go back and check to make sure that that the answer is correct, especially when I am able to put in an answer, but it will give it a 0 because there are variations that students can give. After the lesson, they had to an exit ticket that they had to answer. And so I posed it as a question in Google Classroom. And here, this was a question that I asked of my students: what was this format of instruction useful for you? Why or why not? And so you can see here, no, because I had to have you explain it to me face to face. I was walking around as the students were doing this. I don't see that as a negative. I actually see that as a positive, because I was able to spend that one-on-one time with them, which in a traditional lecture format, that's not the case. So the correlation, Powtoon fits into Sweller's extraneous load. This is what I use to provide information in a quick way for the students. Google Classroom also fits into that extraneous load. Google Forms and Docs does that as well. And the objectives is the intrinsic theory. I'm sorry, Google Form and Docs is the germane load, which is what I use to see how much they have learned. So to conclude, again, after reading all of my students' comments to my questions, some of them failed to realize that it actually did give me the opportunity to walk around and really spend some time with them one-on-one. By day 4, most of my students understood the concept. And when I say most of the students, those are the students that really take the time to try to learn the information. Of course, I have a couple of intentional non-learners that it doesn't matter what form I give them, they're just not going to adapt to anything. So here are